Nika, aka Aksik, and I have not made a video for a very, very long time, though please, please have mercy. And also, English is not my first language, as you might have noticed, so I hope you don't have too many mean comments about that. Anyways, people have asked me on Instagram to start doing my videos now for a while, and I eventually decided to comply. So I was kind of not sure how to start or what to do, so I just thought, oh, I'm in midway of doing this lovely red bird with watercolor pencils, and why not just take you with me and show you how I do it. So what I'm using, I am using these. I think they're kind of unsung heroes of the watercolor pencils. I know Albrecht Dürer's are lovely, and I have them. Yes, I do. But I just like this very, very well balanced 60 set of aquarelle pencils. They are Stadler Karat aquarelle, and they are lovely. They are soft. The color choices are very good, and 60 is kind of just enough, especially with watercolor pencils, which you're going to be mixing anyway. It's kind of enough colors wise, and also it's not overwhelming, and it's easy to have it open like this in front of you. You don't have to put them into pencil case because they don't take too much real estate on your desk. So that is one of the reasons I love them, but they are genuinely good, they dissolve really well, and they're very pigmented. The next thing I'm going to be using is this really old and really tired Derwent water brush, which used to be a brilliant water brush, but then I was cruel and rough with it, and it looks like that now. But it's perfect for what I'm going to be doing with it. Anyways. And then the colors I'm using are, it's only 4 of them. And oh God, one thing about Karat pencils is that they do not have names. So I can tell you that it's 29, 33, 2, and 11. But the thing is, you don't have to use Karat. You can use absolutely any brand of watercolor pencils, which is half decent. And there's quite a few of them out there. This one is essentially ultramarine. This one is kind of a dark orange or kind of flame red. This one, I would call it cadmium yellow. And this one, I'd say it's close to alizarin maybe, or Madder Lake, something like this. Anyways, it's just kind of a coolish or neutral red, orangey red, cadmium yellow, warm, darkish yellow, and ultramarine, which is then red leaning blue. And I also, of course, need a piece of tissue, and that's really about it. Sometimes what I do is I always have next to me a little white pad of Post-its, which I use if I want to kind of swatch something quickly. I find it perfect for it. It's small, doesn't take up much space, and it works perfectly for what I need it for. This is now the number 33, which is, it's ultramarine. That's what it is. So now you kind of have to think a little bit. You don't want to put too much of it down, and you want to get them, this, like Joseph Kattenbang, of course I didn't tell you the name of the book. It's Mythographic Aviary by Joseph Kattenbang. And he has kindly provided us with hatching where the shadows should be. So I just stick them into the darkest areas where things were really tightly overlapping, or I know there's going to be pretty dark shadow there, and I don't put down much of it. If I was layering, I could get the shadows, but I want the base to be as complete as possible, so I don't have to do much shading on top. Like I will probably, not probably, I will definitely need to go a little bit in with pencils afterwards, but just tiny bit, and maybe 1 or 2 colors, just to deepen those shadows. Because after, if we put the water down, it'll dilute the shading. One thing I'm not going to do in my videos that I have made up my mind not to do is I would probably not use music, because I myself prefer to, if somebody isn't talking, silence to me is preferable, because I often like to put my videos on a bit higher speed, like 1.5. And if there's music, that just hurts. Speech on 1.5, I'm now so used to it that it feels, normal speech feels super slow and, weird. But if I have music on 1.5, that just hurts my ears. So I've decided that if you want, music or a book, if I don't make a noise, you can just put it on yourself in the background. But most of the time I probably will speak somewhat. So we'll see how that will go. And once again, I apologize, my poorish English. Now, the pigment is down here. So now we have to make sure that the water brush is activated. So it's not at the moment. So this one of the reasons I love it is I can press here and get water. And the way it has to be is that you have to get, your finger has to get, proper shiny. It has to be decently wet, not slightly damp. There has to be some water. Now we have a piece of tissue, and we get to it. So we start from the lighter area and kind of work into darker areas with a bit of a tapping motion. And if you feel that the brush is getting kind of too dry, just squeeze it. Or if your brush is different, you can just squeeze the barrel itself. If you don't have the button thing going on, you kind of have to have some proper moisture going. Just otherwise, it won't dissolve properly, and then you're going to be ending up with streaks and stuff. So no. And I feel that it's getting, so we go back there, make sure that, and especially we're going to be careful now in the darkest areas. Let's not smear that bit all over the place. Lightest areas, brightest areas, we can kind of do like this. But then when we go into dark areas, we only do tapping. Okay, then you wipe off the brush and tap, tap, tap. And this way the shading or the shadows are mostly retained. You don't just wash it off or over dilute it. And you still have most of the shading left. But as you can see now, because we had those 4 colors down, we pretty much have most of the shading done, and the water just blends it all together the way pencil layering would have done it also. But you don't have to do the pencil layering if your hands hurt, or if you're just tired or don't feel like it. This is faster and also gives lovely vibrant results. Maybe not as good as, proper pencil layering, but not every page has to be a masterpiece, or you don't have to dedicate hours and hours and hours just one wing, which would be the case if I would go full in with pencils. I just don't want to dedicate that sort of a time to it. No, you see. Now that's mostly done. I will eventually add a little bit pencil to it. So I'm going to do rest of the red, and then I'll come back and we'll move on to next steps. Okay, this is it. I got all the red color down, and you can see now like most of the shading is down, but I would like to get it a bit more contrasted, so I'd like the shadows a bit darker and highlights a bit brighter. So the best way to do that, or the fastest way to do that, would be the shadows. I'm going to use Pablo's mainly because I know that Pablo's like this paper. For me anyway, Pablo's work really well in Mythographics. And I could go with one of these dark reds, but I want to cool down the shadows a bit more than they are, because it came out a bit more orange than I probably would want. So I like to cool it down slightly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 099 aubergine here, and this is me now giving you totally wrong impression, because actually I often don't look at the charts at all. I just I think that might be it. Yeah, aubergine. I just look at the pencils, the pencil leads, and make my decision based on these most of the time. But I do like to swatch them when I first get them, because it does give you a feel of the pencils and how they lay down, and also, you know, you see how vibrant they are or how muted. It's just a good idea to kind of try to do that. I should probably use the charts that I usually make more, but yeah, I just look at the pencils. So essentially, see, if I just stick it into those shadow areas a bit, see how it cools it down a bit? It's and as this is what I mean by Pablo's liking this paper. They go down very smoothly. You know, there's not much grain showing or anything. You just get this nice smooth lay down, and you don't have to, and it grabs, the paper grabs the pigment very well as well, so I don't have to spend ages, you know, layering, which I occasionally enjoy, but you know, if I just want to get quick shadows, I'd rather have something that goes down well and goes down bright. Okay, so it's just accentuating everything I can here. So basically I'm going to put it everywhere that I feel that it should be more in shadow, it should be darker. And close to the overlapping areas I put it down a fair bit of pressure, and then I ease off the pressure, so I don't have to use a lighter color. I just do it all in one pencil. Because I'm lazy. And as I said, there's times you want to play with pencils and just take your time and gently layer and massage them into paper and play with different variations. And there's times where you just want the result and you want it reasonably quick. Because this is not total flat coloring, like it's still shaded and everything, and it still has contrast. It's just not as impeccable as it could be, which it rarely is in my case. So why am I coloring this particular book? Well, Erica at Elm Colors, I think, is a channel. I can leave the link below if I remember now. Hopefully I will. She is doing the whole year of mythographics, and every month I think she is dedicating to a different book. And I like that idea a lot because I have quite a lot of mythographics and I really like them, but I find them challenging and I find the pages slow going, and often I just don't have enough confidence to go for these pages because they just look so complicated, don't they, at first? So most of them are just sitting there with only, maybe one page done or two pages done if they're lucky. So I thought, I'll try, I'm not saying that I'm going to be participating heavily, because the moment I create obligation like that, everything inside me starts rebelling and I'm like, I don't really want to touch mythographics anymore because now I have to do it and that's not fun anymore. So I'll do it when I feel like it. And if it's a book I A, own, and B, like, because I have a couple of mythographics that I'm kind of thinking, will I keep them? Will I not? Because some of them I find are needlessly complex or overcomplicated, and some of them have such a tiny detail that I just find it so hard to work in them. There's an artist, Alessandra Fusi, or Fusi, I think she's Italian, so Fusi. And her art is gorgeous. And, you look at the flip-throughs of the books of hers, and they're stunning. And you're like, oh, definitely. Oops, what did I knock? My heat gun. Yeah. Which I did not use, and it's just living its best life next to me for some reason. For 4 weeks now. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, Alessandra Fusi and her gorgeous art. And there's such a level of fiddly, itsy bitsy detail that it's almost impossible to color. Like there's no instrument that would actually do, unless I do the whole thing with only fine liners, which I wouldn't really enjoy that much. Like I like fine liners, and occasional fine liner details are fine, but if they just go too small, that I find I can't do anything with them anymore. So I have two of her books. I like one better than other. One is Mythogoria, one is Mythographic. And I'm not sure I'm going to get more unless, I see a flip through and, I find, and this time I'm going to pay attention specifically how detailed the book is, and if it's still super gorgeous and the detail is a bit more manageable, I might maybe get in the future another one. But then again, we already have so many books. Do I really need more mythographics? No, I don't. Just, you see what I'm doing here. I'm just adding some extra shadows, and I'm only using this one pencil. And this kind of a muted, fairly dull aubergine purple. which I really like as a color to start with. And I'm using my purples a lot, not necessarily in places that they actually look purple. I use them as base, I use them as shadows, I use a lot of dark purples in skin, after neutralizing them with peachy tones that tend to get too yellow for my taste. So I use a lot of lilacs and purples to neutralize them a bit, like under layers. So yeah, okay. Now here it's showing that the print, black print in any coloring book or any book really is never totally black. It's always going to be gray, dark gray. And I want that eye to be black. So what I'm going to do eventually is I think I'm going to put Sakura black glaze pen onto it and then add the highlights after. I like the results better that way. So yeah, so I'm going to be adding loads of little shadows like this, kind of darkness, dulling down some areas. And once again, you can see I'm not being super precise or careful about it. Also, you know, all those fiddly bits here, I'm just cheerfully coloring over them, because if I had to color around them, that would just frustrate me and it would be a bit of a pain. It's easier, way easier to color if I color over them. And I'm going to go over them with some sort of acrylic or gel pen or paint anyway. So might as well save myself some frustration and just go over them, ignore them as they are at the moment. See, doesn't it look much better with the purple shadow? The bird instantly looks a bit more dramatic and alive. So I think I'm going to add the rest of the shadows a bit later. I'm going to show you the next step I'm going to do with the feathers. That will add to the look. And that is super easy to do. And I don't think I've seen anybody showing exactly the same way. I'm sure people do it. And I'm sure maybe somebody has shown it and I just don't remember and somehow have started using it without actually knowing who I should credit for it. But all the shadows are now in place, but I would like also stronger highlights. But I don't want to put kind of like harsh line around the feathers. That would be kind of very artificial, inorganic looking in this instance. I want it to be more flowy. So what I'm using is acrylic marker. This is Guangna one, but all of them are good. As long as it's a little bit more on opaque side. I like kind of, this is like yellowish creamy color. Let me show you this one. Like this one, very light and pretty opaque, especially if you give it a good shake. Doesn't have to be that set, can be Artex, can be any of those brands, as long as it's now on the opaque side. And you would really benefit from the brush tip because it gives more organic finish. And another thing I have to have ready is my hands look terrible, my water brush. Okay, so let's have it ready. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that here, give it a line, and then quickly soften the edge here. And here, same thing. I'm not going to do it to every single feather, but I'm going to bring out and sharpen some of the feathers to give a bit more dramatic effect and, you know, more highlights. It will just look better. So I know that I'm holding pencils weird. Like they really tried in school to get me to hold it correctly, and they failed. This is how I started holding it, and this is the only way it works for me. I don't know even why. It just is. And since I feel like I have the best control like this, and it's most comfortable for me, I'm not really bothered changing it. So you can see how now we have brighter highlights. I'm going to give these ones a bit of a highlight as well, so they wouldn't be lost there. But I don't just outline everything, because that can look awkward, and I think in this case would look awkward. This bird has such graceful, beautiful organic lines. If I just put harsh outlines around it, I think it would kind of kill the whole feel of the image. Up. Yep. So I'll do it this way. And of course you could just use acrylic paint and brush. Also an option. It's just probably the control is better this way. It's a bit easier, I think. Especially if you're not very well versed in controlling acrylics or opaque paint. Can be a bit challenging. So working with a marker like this is way easier. Okay, let's give you a tiny bit of, yeah. Okay, and adding a tiny bit here. And if it doesn't, you know, if it dries and becomes kind of less opaque and bright, you can add tiny dot at the end to kind of, you know, other layer that would brighten it. I might do these bits with a gel pen because they're just too small for that tip. But what I'm doing with the beak now is the same thing. I'm being very careful and very gentle in how I bring it down, and because the color already kind of matched, I'm not even going to dilute it. Okay, bring in a bit bigger beak, yeah, and kind of accentuate the bottom of the beak a bit as well, just to make sure that it's showing. Yep, leaving it like this, and quickly diluting. So you see how it's dried lighter and paler. So I'm just adding another layer at the tip. So I'll do these bits and then come back. Now all the shading of the bird and the highlighting is now finished, so this is pretty much all I'm going to do for the bird itself. Everything else on the bird I'll probably do with the different acrylic markers and gel pens, but I thought on the camera the sky looks kind of alright, but I feel like it could use a little bit of smoothing, so I picked out from Pablo's set the blue indigo, ultramarine and malachite light green, and I just give a tiny bit of extra depth and extra shading to the sky. Just deepen it up a tiny bit because I think it would bring the bird more forward. I'm kind of silly to call it the bird. I don't know what to call it. Is it? It's not a phoenix. Firebird of some sort. Space bird, since it seems to be hovering into space in some sort of a Stargate situation. Okay. Yes, I know technically I should have all sorts of in-between colors for all these different blues, but I think we'll live. Oh, that's beautiful. That really brings that, lifts the other colors. I love this color, the malachite green. Malachite light green, sorry. It's a beautiful color. Tends to lift other colors next to it as well. It's pretty. It's pretty. So I'm just going to do those bits of cosmos, sky. And I'm going to do it quickly. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. Just to kind of, as I said, I'd like to bring the bird a bit more forward. And for that, I need to intensify the background. I haven't yet exactly decided what I'm going to do with this bit here, because that's not sky. It's supposed to be some sort of material, pattern material between those two rings. So I need to make it a bit different from the sky, but there's some sort of a pattern here which I could accentuate slightly with shading, you know, kind of very, very quick, throw some color down shading. So I might do that. So I'll take a break now and color up the sky, the little bits that are there, and then I'll show you, and then I think it should be enough for today. Now, this is how far I've gotten. It's getting a bit too late, so I'm finishing up for today, but I did most of the shading that was to be done on the bird, and in the circle here added a bit more color to these, I think the planets, just to make them kind of gel better with the bird itself. I added some raspberry red from Pablo to the yellow, and some purple in the shadows, or aubergine in the shadows. I'm still wrecking my head over this plant. This color is not right. I need to figure out something what to do with this one, but that'll happen now, maybe tomorrow. So I'll see when I get a chance. I'll put the video together and maybe even upload to YouTube. So if I did that, thank you all for watching, and If you like it, feel free to subscribe and like. And once again, thank you very much, and hopefully see you again.